The views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of Paltalk.com, AVM software, or its advertisers.
News Talk is online. News Talk Online is a production of Paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet with more than 4 million unique users on demand on iTunes and on YouTube, and on my blog, GaryBaumgarten.com, where you are encouraged to post your comments, whether you agree with yours truly or not. And thanks to our good friends at CRN Digital Talk Radio, we're syndicated across the nation into 12 million additional households. I am your host, Gary Baumgarten. Well, you know, they were told at church that a vote for a pro-choice candidate would render them no longer Catholic. But according to the Washington Post, 54% of the Catholic vote went to Barack Obama. Presumably, a substantial number of those voters were Irish Catholics who believed that Obama was spelled O''Bama. All right, nobody's as Irish as Barack Obama. Well, joining us today to discuss the Catholic vote, Irish or otherwise, and other issues surrounding yesterday's historic election, as well as what faces the new president-elect, is Elizabeth Frawley Bagley, who was responsible for getting out the Catholic vote for Obama. Ambassador Bagley was senior advisor to Secretary of State Madeleine Albright from 1997 to 2001. Prior to this appointment, she served as the U.S. ambassador to Portugal from 1994 to 1997. An attorney specializing in trade and international law, Bagley was adjunct professor of law at Georgetown University in Washington until January of '93. She served as diplomatic liaison for the Clinton-Gore presidential campaign. She was the State Department's congressional liaison officer during the Carter administration and served as a special assistant to Ambassador Saul Linowitz for the Camp David Accords. Ambassador Bagley, welcome to News Talk Online on Paltalk.com.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Well, it's nice to have you. I want to talk about the vote in general, of course, but your area of concern was to get out the Catholic vote. And I actually wrote a blog a couple weeks leading into the election, suggesting that might be problematic for Barack Obama because of the call from the pulpit in the Roman Catholic churches across the United States of America, not mentioning him by name, but telling the congregants that if you vote for somebody who is pro-choice, you are in essence no longer a Catholic. But with 54% of the Catholics, and by the way, I think in every election, presidential election, going back the past 6 or 7, how the Catholics voted, so went the nation.
That's right.
Obviously, that wasn't adhered to by many Catholics. Why do you think that many of the Catholics decided to ignore that plea from the pulpit?
Well, it just depended on what pulpit. It didn't happen all the way around, all throughout the country. It was only on selected parishes. There was a plea, so to speak, in Scranton with Bishop Martino, and it happened in a couple of other places, but by and large it did not happen. And the reason it didn't is because in fact the bishops had another proclamation. As you know, they always have the Guide to Faithful Citizenship, and this time they actually addressed the issue of whether a Catholic, good Catholic, a conscientious Catholic, could vote for a pro-choice candidate. And the result was, their admonition was that you could vote for someone who was pro-choice as long as it wasn't the main reason for your vote, as long as it was an amalgam of other issues that were aligned with the Catholic Church. So, in fact, the bishops had a very moderate stance on voting this time, unlike in other times. Actually, in 2004, bishops came back and said that Catholics, that communion should not be used as a weapon. So, the National Conference of Catholic Bishops has always had, a much more moderate stance, and in fact, this time they literally put it down in writing. So I think Catholics were felt a little more freedom to vote their conscience and to vote their choice of candidates. I spent a lot of time talking to Catholics about what Barack Obama, what his view of reducing abortions, the first time in the Democratic Party platform that we actually talked about reduction of abortions as a major goal, giving women the choice to choose life. That was the first time we've ever done that, and that was Barack Obama's platform. So I've walked through a lot of issues with a lot of Catholics, and I think many of them felt that they had the political and religious space to be able to make an informed decision.
And Catholics traditionally have not adhered to one party or the other. Sometimes they supported the Republican candidate. Sometimes the Democratic
they've
candidate.
always been in the past. You're talking, ethnic Catholics. So you're talking Irish, mostly Irish, certainly Italians, Polish, tend to have voted. I mean, they were. You're talking, if you're talking about working class Catholics, they have traditionally voted for Democrats, and that's what they called the Reagan Democrats, because in 1980 they moved over to Ronald Reagan, and they stayed with him throughout that 8-year period, but then gradually have moved back to the Democratic Party because of other issues like labor issues, like issues of poverty, issues that line up better with the Democratic Party than with the Republican Party. Aid to children, John McCain voted against state children's health insurance program twice, allowing 10 million poor children to be